Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy RedCloud. Today we're going to be talking about the huge buffs that Cleric got. We're going to be discussing the changes, all of the different things that are happening with the class, as well as a general gameplay style and kind of rotation for you guys to follow along with. Other than that, let's get into it. If it's your first time here, my name is RedCloud. I mainly play a Cleric on my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/RedCloud. I am almost at 2.5k, and just last night we got our best weapon for now, Enraged Chromede Warhammer, and I think I just got like the most insane rolls. So if you guys want to see some Cleric gameplay, come check out the live stream, ask me any questions, I'll answer every single one that I can. And then other than that, thank you for watching and liking the video. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to talk about is Divine Aura, and I've got a little hidden tech I'll show you guys and teach you guys. So first and foremost, Divine Aura is a little turret pretty much that periodically deals damage to people. It got a 20% damage buff, and overall that's a really good thing because really this is just a filler ability. We should always be putting it down, of course, but there is of course now the benefit of getting 20% more damage. However, there is a hidden tech that probably not a lot of people know about. Pretty much what you can do is you can put Divine Aura down and it has its own HP bar. Okay, so let's say you can see it has its own HP bar, right? So if this little guy right here was a boss and that boss was shooting a projectile at you, your Divine Aura can actually soak that projectile. It can literally absorb that damage for you. It will probably destroy it or at least chunk it to half, and it won't do more damage, of course, but it will actually soak a projectile for you. So that is one thing that you can do in case you really need something and you don't have any more stamina, or if just by luck you are standing behind your Divine Aura and therefore that Divine Aura just soaks in that damage. It's a really cool thing that you can do. The other thing that can also do it is your Healing Aura as well, because Healing Aura, if you didn't know, has its own HP bar as well. So Healing Aura of course doesn't do damage, but it literally is like a stationary turret, so it will do the same thing. So just a super 200 IQ tech that you can be doing with Divine Aura and Healing Aura. Alright guys, so the next thing that got buffed was Judgment Thunder. Judgment Thunder and then Divine Punishment both got a 10% damage buff. This is huge because obviously both of these abilities are some of our core damaging abilities that we have in the game, next to of course our other abilities. But seriously, Judgment Thunder and Divine Punishment got a 10% buff. This is massive, seriously, because leveling up is going to be a lot easier for new clerics. Doing damage is going to be just better overall for clerics. Yeah, overall Judgment Thunder and Divine Punishment, that I'm a very welcome 10% buff damage for that, because low-key the damage that a cleric can output is not really that great, and any damage that we get is definitely, you know, very helpful. So let's go. One of the biggest changes that we got was a 20% buff to Lightning Strike Scattershot. If you guys do not know, this is an ability you use when the enemy is staggered. So if a boss is staggered, if you're soloing something or whatever it may be, it's staggered, you can hold this down and it will do a bunch of damage in a few seconds. So this is very good because of course now what does that mean? We're doing 20% more damage during huge burst windows. Now in general that means that Cleric is a lot more, you know, viable to take for damage in these runs. In dungeon runs, they're already of course mandatory in some of these higher end stuff, but at the same time now you can actually pack a punch during those stagger phases. So very, very welcome buffed, especially the fact that you can set this up with guaranteed multi-hit on hit, and then if you're really lucky you can get this to -1 all skill cooldowns on hit. So yeah, this is a very welcome buff. It does a lot more damage now. It makes doing a bunch of damage and also soloing content a lot easier as well, especially while leveling up. So very awesome. The next thing we're going to talk about is our healing stigmas got huge buffs, guys. Let's freaking go. Healing Aura and Absolution caught a 15% healing buff. So now this heals for 15% more. And by the way, I'm just saying, Healing Aura, if you're standing in this with the way I have it set up, you're not dying, okay? It's insane. So Absolution caught a 15% healing buff as well. Instead of healing for 3,800 like it was the last night or the day before, now it's healing for almost 5,000. It's kind of nuts. The next thing that got a buff was Light of Protection. It caught a 15% HP increase buff. So pretty much the percentage that this went up by was 15%, meaning you are getting more increased max HP when you are casting this on your friendly targets. And of course, the incoming healing and anything else has stayed the same, but pretty much the HP that you gain permanently while having the skill on is now increased by 15%. So this is a massive, massive change. Now let's talk about one of the biggest changes that Cleric got to Light of Regeneration. Now, Light of Regeneration before, it gave us plus 100 defense on the first specialty node and 10 plus attack on the second specialty node. Now, it was bugged, I believe, that it used to say 10% attack, but it was actually plus 10 attack. So there's a difference there, of course, right? It's a major difference. So what does that mean? Instead of 100 defense, I am now getting 5% defense and plus 3% attack when I have this up. Now, let's think about that for a minute, okay? I have 12,000 defense, okay? I am a tanky boy, all right? So 12,000 defense, 5% of this is 600, guys. Instead of 100 defense, I am now getting plus 600 defense. Okay, that is insane. Okay, that is crazy, crazy. All right, let's think about that in terms of items. Okay, defense for this item is 800. Okay, when I have this buff on myself, when it's on me, right, it's like having almost an entire other plus 10 noble belt. Almost. It's like 80% of it. But still, that's insane. It's insane. It's a huge, huge buff, to be honest with you. Think about that. Just being able to have almost an entire other item equipped to make you tankier. So that is completely insane. The same thing applies with 3% attack. All right. So let's say I don't have it on right now. Okay. Let's go to my skills or my stats. And then my attack is 2,074. All right. Let's equip the buff. Okay. And then go to stats. Now I have 2,129 attack. The difference is there, guys. It's a huge buff to our attack and our defense. For me, it's almost about 50 attack that I'm getting instead of 10 like it was before. So overall, this is an insane, insane buff. And overall, in general, you always want Light of Protection on as you're playing the game so that your teammates can get constant healing. And of course, you want to make sure that they have this constant buff on. So overall, this is a just completely insane change. And I think that this is just goated, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's go. Let's go over Debilitating Mark and Chain of Torment's buff that they caught. Essentially, they, at level 12, have this little element resistance debuff that they can apply to enemies. It used to be 10% for both of them. Now, for Debilitating Mark, it's 13%. And now for Chain of Torment, it's 15%. So overall, an 8% buff to this pretty much element resistance debuff. So what does this mean? It means that now instead of a 20% element tolerance reduction, now you can get 28%. This is really, really good because overall you and your teammates are going to do more damage to enemies. So overall, this is a great buff. All right, my dudes, we got to talk about the whale in the room or whatever that expression is. There's a sad moment in time for clerics, okay? I know we did just get the best patch that we have ever gotten ever, but it comes with a heavy heart that we have to talk about, Earth's getting reworked, okay? Even though now it is an increase to damage boost, it is technically a nerf, okay, for our party play. However, it's still good, but not as good as it used to be. Attack power was what this was increasing before, and I'll explain to you guys what this means real quick, okay? So if we go to our stats and then substats, we have damage boost. Now, if you read it, it says affected by target's damage tolerance. So it means that this is something, even though it is increasing our damage, it does get calculated into resistances as well. overall, I think this is probably realistically a justified nerf in the sense that like Cleric is actually and was still strong. It was really strong, right? Because instead of increasing this, which is calculated with the target's damage tolerance, it used to be just your attack power that went up by this percentage. So kind of insane overall, maybe a little overlooked as well, with how much damage Cleric was able to output. Now, what does this mean in particular for ourselves? It means that, well, even though we did kind of become a little bit weaker overall in the sense that we can't add a bunch of like attack power, we do still have, of course, Light of Regeneration that increases a 3% attack, which is good, right? Of course, it's still increasing that. So that's not bad. Plus, of course, right now, like you saw, 18% damage buff. So if I'm attacking this, Earth's Grace shows up here, 18% of caster's damage boost on landing an attack or more. It's a cooldown of 10 seconds. Now, I'll even show that up on stream with this as well. Stream, I'm sorry, I'm always used to like streaming. We'll go ahead and plop it again. And now damage boost is 28%. So instead of 10%, it's 28%. So we do still have quite a bit of damage to offer our teammates and ourselves, of course. But yes, technically it is a nerf because before it used to be pre-damage tolerance. Now it is after damage tolerance. Okay, this gets affected by damage tolerance, right? So technically a slight nerf, but overall, like, our damage did get increased quite a lot with our Divine Punishment, Judgment Thunder, and then of course Debilitating Mark, Chain of Torment, all that stuff. We got a buff to 3% attacks power here. We got a bunch of healing abilities that got huge buffs. And overall, our survivability is so much more. Our utility is so much more. Our damage is so much more. But yes, our actual output that we can do overall to our like teammates is less. So yeah, it is what it is. What can you do? But yeah, I'm a little sad about it, but low-key, it's probably justified with the buffs that we caught. So overall, it is what it is. All right, guys. So I want to talk real quick. Sony wanted to duel me for some reason. He was testing out a skill on me. That's pretty funny. Radiant Recovery is what you always want on. You always want Light of Protection on first, though, because you get a 5% incoming healing buff plus 1300 max HP. Pretty much, Radiant Recovery gives you a 20% incoming healing buff that you get when you spec it to that. You always want that buff on if you're going to be healing people. And then pretty much at that point, oh, I won. Let's go. Pretty much you always want to be having this on because it's just going to amplify all of your healing. Right here, we've got 25% incoming healing going on. The next thing you want on all the time is Light of Regeneration. The reason why is because we get a 5% defense buff now and a 3% attack buff now. And that means that we always want to be juggling these buffs up as much as possible. And you'll be able to later on, but it will take a little bit of practice to get that down. The next thing you want is Healing Light. Healing Light is something that you want to be using when Radiant Recovery is off cooldown. So pretty much when it's on cooldown, you want to be using Healing Light to fill in. Unless, of course, you can use Absolution or Healing Aura if you need to use those for emergencies. But pretty much, Healing Light is something that you use as a filler. And therefore, that's pretty much the basic healing rotation for Cleric. You always want Radiant Recovery on. You always want your Light of Protection on. Keep these buffs up. And then you always want your Light of Regeneration on. Pretty much that's the basic healing rotation. If you want a more advanced healing rotation, it would look like Radiant Recovery into, let's say you needed to save somebody, Absolution. Because then you're going to double the heal pretty much. Right there was supposed to only heal for 4,600. Then it's almost 7,800. Right? So it's a lot more. Let's talk about Healing Aura real quick. You always want Light of Regeneration on when you're inside of it because you are getting 5% defense plus 10% defense. Okay? So essentially, if you have all of these spells going on at the same time, you are insanely tanky, super hard to kill, and constantly getting healed. So very, very hard to kill a Cleric when they're in this setup right there. And then, of course, you've got Salvation. Salvation is nullifies everything. Nothing can kill you except, of course, if it's a wipe mechanic in a dungeon, you will die. But it does pretty much nullify every single bit of damage. It is very important to be able to use this properly. Make sure that you only use this when you are about to get hit. You cannot dodge it. You are going to die in one way, shape, or another. Because if you are dead, your team is dead. That's the mindset that you need when you are playing Cleric. You make sure that you are the last person to die, because you should be the last person to always die. And then that's about it as far as healing spells and all that stuff go for Cleric. That's a general rotation that you would use. Damage rotation is pretty simple. Debilitating Mark and Chain of Torment, you always want that debuff up first before you start doing damage, because of course your damaging abilities will do more damage, right? Bolt is something you always want to be using pretty much all the time when it is off cooldown. If you can use it and you have Debilitating Mark and Chain of Torment on the enemy. Then Divine Aura is something that you want to remember to use as much as possible. If you do not use it, don't sacrifice other damage to get this animation down. But of course, it should be a priority, okay? So Debilitating Mark, Divine Aura, then Bolt, and then we're going to go ahead and spam Condemnation, Divine Judgment, and Thunder Judgment as well. And then that's all we do. Pretty much that's how you play Cleric. You pretty much go ahead and focus around your cooldowns, Condemnation, Divine Judgment, and also Judgment Thunder. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the rotation when it comes to damage. Very, very simple. Very, very easy to do. Overall, the way I have it set up makes it so I only press 2 buttons to actually get damage done most of the time, except for Bolt, and then for Divine Punishment as well. And then for Divine Aura as well. And that's pretty much about it as far as Cleric DPS rotation goes. Of course, these are with these stigmas. If you have other stigmas, that's going to have to be something that you go ahead and try and interweave into your own rotation. Now, I'm going to show you guys the rotation for both healing and damage at the same time. All right, guys. So one thing that you have to accept real quick is that Cleric is not a damage class. It is a support class, okay? If you have to sacrifice damage to keep someone alive, you did a good job. All right. If you do damage and someone dies, you did a bad job. Pretty much. That's how it works. Okay. Do not prioritize doing damage over keeping yourself and someone else alive. Okay. Unless the boss is on like the tiniest little sliver of HP and you are like, this is like a movie scene or something like that, and you got what it takes, go for it. But if not, you better heal, okay? Make sure you heal, all right? So general rotation, Light of Regeneration, Radiant Recovery. We got Light of Protection on, blah, blah, blah. We got that rotation going on. Now, since I have these buffs up for 10 seconds or so, let's go ahead and start Debilitating Mark, Chain of Torment, Condemnation. Let's do Bolt here, and we'll throw it in. Now we're going to Radiant Recovery, Light of Regeneration, go back into our damage abilities. And that's pretty much about it. It's a pretty fast rotation, to be honest with you. So it does mean that Cleric is kind of always spamming abilities, which is kind of cool. But we do have a window there. Like, it's a solid like 5-second window that you have to kind of just go around and do quite a bit of damage while you're doing that. And if you are going to drop off a buff, okay, like let's say like you really want to focus on getting your heals done, and then also you want to focus on getting your damage done, you want to make sure that you have your Light of Regeneration up at minimum, okay? Because you still have the incoming healing here, but you want to make sure that you get that attack buff and defense buff constantly for your teammates as well. Even if they're getting less healing from here, that's fine for a little bit. Like if they're staying healthy and you notice that you've got all your cooldowns up, it's okay to sacrifice this for a bit. But I do believe that in general, especially in later runs and stuff like that, focusing on keeping them alive and yourself alive is #1 priority. So don't ever be like ashamed or stress out about not doing the most amount of damage. If anything, this is what you should be prioritizing. All right, Radiant Recovery, Light of Regeneration, and making sure that Chain of Torment and Debilitating Mark are up, even if that means you're sacrificing other stuff, okay? only reason is because these do damage over time, and they also debuff the enemy. Okay, so make sure that you focus on those abilities at minimum. If you have the time, of course, use Judgment Thunder, Divine Punishment, and also Condemnation. And that's pretty much the rotation for Cleric. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Overall, I think Cleric got a very, very big buff, even though we did get a slight little rework slash nerf. But overall, I think Cleric is stronger than it's ever been. I'm very excited to be playing it. If you guys like what you see, or if this video was helpful at all, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more content like this. Also, come check out the live stream. I'm live every single day. I answer all my homies' questions. Right now, we're playing on Korea. I will catch you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.